Good afternoon again, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels. And yes, we'll get to the JRC in a moment. First, brief disclaimers. If you're unfamiliar with the Stop the Shocks campaign or the campaign against the troubled teen industry, all pertinent links are going to be in the description box for you. So should you like to deep dive on either subject, you're definitely able to do so. Trigger warnings, this channel is marked not for kids for a reason. I do use profanity, and when we discuss places like the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of people with mental health issues and disabled people being tortured and abused. If you got young children present and they are 16 or younger, parental supervision very obviously advised, alright? Alright, where we left off. This one, short and sweet. This is egregious and inhumane. It must stop. I probably butchered that word, but that's alright. Alright, let's go to the next one here. Now, this is an ASAN template, so we'll go back and grab us another one here. Yes, I'm narrating while I'm scrolling. It's fine. Alright, and now we've got a bit of a novel here. This one says, I am writing as a board secretary of the Autism National Committee, also known as AUTCOM. AUTCOM and its members strongly urge the Food and Drug Administration to ban electrical stimulation devices used to treat aggressive or self-injurious behavior. We support the FDA's determination that these devices present an unreasonable and substantial risk of illness or injury that cannot be corrected or eliminated by labeling. Any more than you can, like, fix a bruised cheek with a piece of notebook paper? I'm sorry, I'm bad at analogies right at this second. I'll come up with something better maybe later. We have opposed this inhumane treatment for decades now, especially since there are alternative treatments that are humane and effective. They are right, by the way, from the very beginning. CASH and ASAN have been like this, as well as ADAPT, People First, and some of the other organizations out there. We've been in lockstep for over multiple decades to get this insanity to end. It's an international coalition of professionals, self-advocates, people who've worked in the service system, people who've worked within the medical model, people who have been direct care staff or CIs, job coaches, you name it. They have lined in lockstep behind us. We even were able to put aside the massive amount of animosity between Autism Speaks, ASAN, and the rest of us to agree on this one thing and to lobby for its end. Do you know how difficult it is to get someone from Autism Speaks and ASAN in the same room without sparks flying? I mean, that is unheard of. Unheard of. Let me go ahead and continue here. The use of electric shock for punishment is counter to international law and is widely condemned by people with disabilities. I mean, it's literally been condemned from the International Council on People with Disabilities. For God's sake, by me. Family members, disability professionals and advocates, medical professionals, and almost every national disability organization. Like I said. Additionally, their use is condemned by the United Nations Special Rapporteur on Torture, which, by the way, JRC, that means they know a lot more about the subject of torture than you do, as that has been their main study for decades. Decades! You really going to try and tell someone like that their job? Do you smoke crack? Is crack what you smoke? Because it would make a lot of things that make no sense suddenly make a lot more sense. Let me continue here. The use of these devices has resulted in trauma and other harmful psychological and physical effects. There is no evidence that they are a valid or effective treatment. Literally none. Even that so-called 2019 study, completely and utterly bogus. The Walden University, I believe it was, that they said that they were supporting it in their facilities. When you're talking about a university that is pretty much only online. So, where are the clinical studies happening? This person's bedroom? In a school hallway? How would we know? Just putting it out there is all. The use of these devices has resulted in trauma and other psychological and physical effects. There is no evidence of a valid or effective treatment. We have heard at our conferences from people who have experienced the shock from these devices. They report on ongoing trauma, nightmares, overwhelming fear and anxiety, and over long-term results. And by the way, JRC, I'm going to take their word over yours. You have an interest in hiding your insanity. These individuals have nothing left to lose at this point. The Judge Rotenberg Center, the only facility to use contingent electric shock to control behavior, claims that the electric shock is used for self-mutilating or other threatening behaviors. But they lie. They lie a lot. But there are dozens of testimonies and documents demonstrating that the shock is routinely used for non-dangerous, innocuous behaviors such as refusing to follow staff directions, failing to maintain a neat appearance, stopping work for more than 10 seconds, getting out of one's seat, interrupting others, nagging, swearing, whispering, slouching. But we're going to make you normal. Are you aware of how much neurotypical teens curse? Again, I invite you and your staff to park a car and just observe in a high school parking lot how neurotypicals interact. Because what you're trying to make us do and what neurotypical teens are really like are two very vastly different things. The video that Fox News made public demonstrates that shock is not the gentle reminder parents have been made to think it is being used, but instead a devastatingly painful experience. The Judge Rotenberg Center often combines the use of electric shock with prolonged restraint, such as used as a punishment, making the use of contingent shock even more horrifying and dangerous. The 4-point board, folks. Both procedures are ethically wrong, and there are better, safer, and more effective approaches that we have witnessed in action, that I have witnessed in action, that many of us have witnessed in action. We know it works because we've seen it with our own eyes. The FDA ban is vitally important as we have witnessed the personal devastation that individuals subject to it have endured. The trauma does not go away easily. It remains for years on end. Little is done to help with recovery, and continuing threat of its use on others reduce the traumatic effects. We have also witnessed and participated in the use of humane, supportive, positive support strategies that are effective without inflicting pain, trauma, and humiliation. The electric shock is indefensible. Literally, it's not defensible. Why do you think the JRC is so bad at defending what they do there? They know it's awful. They know it's indefensible. You know? We fully support the proposed ban and urge the FDA to permanently and immediately eliminate the use of those harmful devices. Alright, folks, we're going to do one more on the next page before we close out of this one. Alright, this one says, my name is Kevin Roach. I am an autistic, and as someone who is autistic, I find the use of electric shock devices on autistic disabled people for behavior modification to be inhumane and cruel, as does all planet Earth that is sane and has a heart. I want the FDA to pass a rule banning the use of electric shock devices for behavioral modification. As indicated by the United Nations, the use of electric shock was torture, and still is torture. It will always be torture, by the way, in case anyone's wondering, especially when it is more powerful than modern tasers. There are more humane and fundamentally better ways of helping people with disabilities than using these shocks, which can be proven with patients who have not had the device used on them. All it requires is to treat them as human beings, something that isn't done with shock devices. Preach it! Disabled people deserve to be treated as people. Amen. Go off. And that's a good way to end this vid, folks. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few we do get tend to get removed from time to time, so folks, you know the drill. Please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe. Please don't forget to hit the comments. Also, make sure you're still set up for notifications. We're going to be continuing on with Down the Rabbit Hole and the Snake Oil Salesman series. We don't want you missing anything. I do appreciate your time, and as always, folks, we here at Spilling Tea do hope you have a good one. I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye, everyone.